Tonight on the Big D and J Rowdie Show, we tell a story we forgot last time. My truck is an expensive money pit, and my car gets a driver mod.
Yes, we are back. This is the third week in a row.
Yeah.
Like, week in a row. I want to point that out, that it was weekly so far.
So far, so
because
good.
Episode 0, I had mentioned that we're going to try to do it every week, and somebody said we weren't.
Well, with my schedule flipping back and forth from nights to days, it's kind of hard, but
I like doing it every week. It's cool. It's a little bit later because of the work schedule, and then the holidays, so we're behind a little bit, but we're back on track.
Yeah, we're doing all right.
So
tonight we're going to talk about doing maintenance on your cars, whether it be your daily driver, your race car, trucks, whatever it may be, and things that you can do, like a DIY situation, what you might want to take to a professional, whether it be a independent shop or a dealer, and all the pros and cons of doing all of those.
Yeah, because I think that's something that people in this hobby run into, because you're juggling, well, in my case, I'm juggling 3 cars, soon to be a 4th one once that piece of junk gets running. But and back to the store, this leads into the story that we forgot to talk about last week, where I almost run into a van. My Impala, for those of you that don't know, I'm in sales, so I drive a lot. So I have a little beater car that I drive around town. I do about 500 miles a week. So I don't want to put any of those miles on my truck, because that gets really crummy gas mileage. And then the Charger gets worse gas mileage. And then, so I have this Impala that I got. And I started up a while ago. Was it a week and a half ago, maybe? And I go backing down the driveway, and absolutely no brakes. And the people across the street don't like to use their driveway all the time, so they park. I live on a cul-de-sac, so they park on the other side of the cul-de-sac. Well, I barely got that thing stopped. And come to find out, it blew a brake line. Now, I can fix a brake line. Big D can fix a brake line.
Right.
But usually on old rust buckets, when you change a brake line, it breaks the next one.
Yeah, you end up, it's easier in the end to just replace them all.
Right. And, I mean, I was squished for time. Like, that week, it was a holiday week, which is busy for me at work. And there's all kinds of other crap going on. My yard is like, my little Chihuahua dog is getting lost in the yard. It's so long. I'm like, I don't have time to fit in this brake line fix. So, like an idiot, I drive the car to independently owned franchise shop, and I made it. So that's a good thing. There was like no brake fluid left in the reservoir when I made it there.
Wow.
And then I thought about it once I got there, like,
you have a car trailer.
I know. I could have just, but with my luck, I would have tried to drive the Impala up the car trailer, and it wouldn't have stopped. Because, I'd give it a little bit of gas to get up the ramps. It wouldn't have stopped, and I would have flew off, and it would have hit my truck. And
yeah, it's just been even more horrible.
Because that's about the way the day went. That would have been par for the course that day. So I took it there, and they called me, and they're like, "Yeah, you got a blown out brake line." I'm like, yeah, I know. Well, it'll be, $150 to fix it. Now, $150 is $150. Like, I'm saving for a build on the bully. So, I'm like, dang. But then I got to thinking about it, like, well, it's going to sit there until I get to it Saturday or Sunday. And I got to drive the truck or the bully for work. And some of my area isn't the greatest. So it would have been the truck. I wouldn't have been driving the bully, that's for sure. And so I got to thinking, I'm like, that's at least $80 in gas by the time it's all said and done. Because the brakes went out on a Monday. So I had the whole rest of the week. And then I had to work the Saturday because I was off Monday.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would have been expensive, plus the parts. So I was looking at between gas and parts, I was probably over halfway there.
Yeah, your time's worth something too.
So then I could just get it up there to the shop and drop it off, and they'll call me when it's done. I'll go get it.
Yeah.
You know, I was without a car one day, and I drove Jeanette's Jeep, which got, I guess, like 33 miles to the gallon. So it really didn't the pocketbook that day. So that was nice.
Yeah.
But in reference to the do-it-yourself and take it to a shop or a dealer or whatever.
Yeah, and sometimes it's worth it to just have somebody else take care of it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, not all cases, obviously, but can see how you would come to that conclusion for that.
What I think of, too, is like I do all the work that I am equipped to do on my truck and my Charger. Namely because if it takes me a little bit longer than expected, I don't need it.
Right.
So if I were to tackle the brake line on the Impala and it ended up going to hell and breaking every brake line in the process,
yeah,
it probably wouldn't be done for the next day.
Right.
So, and I think with the going labor rates, like, what, about $80 an hour?
Yeah, independent shop probably.
So that's not too bad.
Right.
I mean, for the labor I was charged there, I mean, that's probably an hour and a half worth of labor because a brake line is not that expensive.
No, and they got to bleed it afterwards and everything, and so it is a little bit time consuming, just not too bad.
And where the brake line that broke, they had to bleed the ABS module. I don't have the computer to do that. Like, you hook a scan tool in and cycle the ABS.
I feel like that car being a early 2000s Impala is one of the best cars you could have for a beater to drive to and from work. Those W bodies are just so inexpensive to maintain.
It's got some big shoes to fill because I had that J body Cavalier, and that thing I traded a dirt bike for that wasn't running that great and had a broken foot peg off it, like the weld broke when I fell once. And the best thing about that is it's still on my trailer in my family storage unit. So I can ride it anytime I want. And I had that car 3 or 4 years. I had over 200,000 on the clock.
Yeah.
So, but this one, old police cruiser, it's got the heavy duty transmission cooler and all that stuff on it.
Yeah.
It's great because the interior is all rubber. There's no carpet.
Right.
It's got the 3800 in it, which, I mean, I know
historically.
And I know just about everything about that because I ripped that motor apart and rebuilt it to be certified in engine rebuild in school. Yeah. So, I mean, that I know all about it. Whether or not I want to take time to do it is another thing. But parts are cheap.
Oh, yeah.
Some stuff is easy.
So. I always thought it'd be cool to take one of those Impala, same body style you got, and get one of the 3.8 and do the top swap from a GTP. It'd be a cool sleeper beater.
ZZP did something like that or something a while ago.
Yeah, I know a guy off the internet that, I don't know if he's still got it or not, but he did a Grand Prix GT and did the top swap on it. And so it was like a clone GTP or whatever.
The 3800 Grand Prix GTPs is an epidemic right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of that,
they got really cheap.
I don't want to get too off topic, but dang, it's like the go-to race car for kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they're fast, but they're still front-wheel drive. At a drag strip, it's going to be hard. So.
Yeah. I guess getting back on track. I guess some of the things I wanted to talk about, things that the average guy, average car guy should eventually be able to do himself.
Right.
Change your own oil, rotate your tires, brakes, chassis stuff like shocks or struts or tie rod ends, stuff like that. Simple nuts and bolts kind of deal. You know, cooling system like radiator, hoses, thermostat, accessories like the alternator power steering pump, water pump. You know, and changing your filters. You know, air filter, transmission filter's pretty easy most of the time.
I'll tell you, I've never changed. No, one car I own, I've changed a transmission filter, and that was my first car, that '89 Cavalier.
Yeah.
I changed it and put new fluid and everything in it. Double checked everything, fluid level, everything. It got worse.
Oh.
So, but I don't ever really keep anything long enough to have to really do transmission filter flush and all that stuff for the transmission. But and then I also want to touch on the oil change. Have you looked into the price of taking your car somewhere to have the oil change done?
Oh yeah, I mean it varies pretty wildly, actually. But
now the Impala I won't do here.
No,
because I can go to the fast lane at El Cerro and pay like $13 when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
And not have to dispose of my oil. And I might be there a while, but I'll just go drop it off. And then come back like on a weekend. It'll be all right. But
why would you do it yourself for that price?
The only thing I like to change the oil on myself is the Bully, because I want to see what comes out of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, Royal Purple's expensive.
Right.
So I'm definitely not paying somebody else to do it.
Right. I do my own on the truck. Diesel oil changes are pretty expensive.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like that's probably expensive at a shop.
Yeah. I can pretty much do an oil change, oil filter, and fuel filter for the same price of them just doing the oil change.
Oh.
So I pretty much get a fuel filter change for free, I guess, comparatively. So I've had the dealership do an oil change on it once because the truck hadn't been into any sort of professional shop for 20-some thousand miles. So I just thought it'd be nice to have another pair of eyes look at it.
I mean, let's face it, we're not exactly diesel guys.
No.
If I look at a diesel engine, I'm lost.
Right. This is
I mean, it works. General principles are about the same.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Just the lack of ignition system.
Yeah.
This is my first diesel, and outside of driving big trucks, but that's a different story. It's my first diesel pickup, and I've kind of been told like I bought the wrong one for it to be my first one. It's a 05 Cummins Ram, and everybody said I should have bought an older 12-valve second gen or Cummins or a 7.3 Ford. I guess they're a lot easier to work on than my common rail. But, you know, yeah. I got mine because of that's the generation of truck I had to get at least that new to get 4 doors.
Oh, okay.
And of course, have the 2-year-old. So couldn't have the older generation, they had the quad cab with the half doors.
Yeah, and open backward.
Yeah, it just wouldn't do.
Yeah, that's not going to work putting a kid in and out of.
Yeah. So
I'm no professional at that, but I can tell you.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
You'll find out sooner or later.
But, dude, I had a hard time putting my nephew in a damn minivan door. I about took his head off when I sat him in there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I am wishing that I would have bought a diesel now that I pull a lot with my truck. But the Gen Ram that I have versus and I like the style of the most, to get in a 2500 would have been crazy.
Oh yeah,
it would have been 35,000 plus.
Yeah, you got the Gen 4, I got the Gen 3, and it was the least amount of money I could spend to get what I needed out of it. And like you're saying, the next generation up, like you could find a few for like 30, but like you're saying, most of them are like 35 plus. It was
Yeah.
unreal.
So that's what's next, probably. I mean, I found some 2500s that I could get with the 6.4 Hemi in it, and I'm like, why would you? I mean, I understand that a lot. I'd get the 2500 suspension and all that, but why? I want something with balls to tow.
Yeah, you know what? For a lot of guys, that would be enough. But if we're talking about hauling a bully to Virginia, and places like that next year,
which we're gonna have to do.
Yeah,
I'm a little nervous to hook it up to my truck and take it down to Streetcar Takeover next year in Indianapolis.
Yeah, so I don't know what to figure something out about that. So anyway, yeah, my truck is so expensive to maintain. That's why my truck being a money pit, I got to do an oil change and rotate the tires. I need tires really bad. I just need to suck it up and buy them. But I'm trying to, cheap out as long as possible until winter.
For the longest time, I bought nothing but used tires.
I'm thinking about doing that just to get me through the winter and maybe buy custom rims in the spring.
There's no replacement for new tires.
I know.
Like my Cavalier, I used to go buy like $30 worth of tires at a time. Buy new fronts, move the fronts to the back, and
Right.
And one time I was like, there was an alignment issue or something was going on with it.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to buy new tires and put an alignment on that bitch. And then the guy looked, and he's like, well, your alignment isn't too far out. It's the tire was already, predisposed to wear more on that side anyway.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, cool. And I new tires on it, and then 4 months later, it starts knocking.
Right.
And
it's hard to know.
Yeah, I dumped that thing for $400 though.
Yeah, you did. You did good.
It was awesome. But yeah, so I like new tires, man. I love the tires I got on my truck. Probably don't exactly love the size. I probably should have listened more to everybody that said I should stay at a 33.
Yeah.
I put the level kit on it and was like, I can fit 35, so I want to put 35s on there. So I did. And then everything sucked after that.
Yeah, you kind of lost some nuts.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's not too bad. And everybody told me that the noise would be crazy with an aggressive pattern. It's not that bad.
No. So. Tires I got on my truck right now are Cooper STTs, Discover STTs, and it makes so much noise. When I bought the truck, they were brand new. I've got almost 30,000 miles on them, and they're just about junk, but they've been so loud the entire time.
See, because I think the lugs on my tires are pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
Compared to yours. I have the Mastercraft MXTs.
Yeah.
And it actually is kind of close to the same pattern. So I don't know why yours would be loud. Like, I drive mine up north, and Jeanette doesn't say anything about it.
Right.
We can talk fine, listen to the radio fine. I actually hear the exhaust. So...
I think the sound deadening in your truck is probably a little bit better than mine.
Yeah, my truck, I don't want to toot my own horn, but my truck is the nicest vehicle I own.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when it comes to
interior comforts.
And I think it looks pretty good. It doesn't look better than the Bully to me, but the paint is good. The interior is nice.
Yeah.
It's mechanically sound. I can't believe that I own it. It's got touchscreen and everything in it, heated and air-conditioned seats.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of that when I bought it because I had bought it from Canada, like kind of not really knowing exactly what was going on with it.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Oh, well, it was the first. Yours is the first year of that new gen, isn't it?
It's a 2011. So
Can't remember if that was 2010
I know 2010
or 11.
had that,
Okay.
or if they went to 2009 and a half, maybe.
Okay.
Because was it 2000?
Well, I know
No,
that
2009 was the facelift from yours.
Yeah. I know that new generation made a big difference in quality of stuff compared to mine. Mine's it has power locks and power windows.
Yeah.
I don't think you could get crank windows anymore.
Well, now my 2003 Dakota had no power.
Right.
Power nothing.
It's got carpets in it, but I mean, other than that, it's pretty much strictly a work truck. It's like bottom of the range, I think. So
I feel like it's more truck than pickup. It's truck.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a truck. So,
but yeah, cost of ownership on a diesel, from what I've been gathering, is not cheap.
No, it's definitely something you have to either really need it or really want it. And I kind of need it, but I really want it.
Right.
So, you know, it's worth it in the end to me because I make 3-pedal diesel noises. But, you know.
See, I don't think I could do a stick as my daily driver.
Oh.
It's just. Now, I am way too busy in my car during work. And I shouldn't say that because you need to pay attention to driving, but my car is my office.
Right.
So when I'm in there, I'm shuffling papers, my phone's ringing, or something's going on. I can't be busy with my hands. Number one, and number two, driving in city traffic all the time. It's just not. It's not fun.
Part of the reason I got mine as a stick, and I was specifically looking for, was those trucks in an automatic, even stock, they just chew through automatic transmissions. The transmissions of the era just couldn't take the torque. And even getting a programmer like close to the truck, I think the transmission just fell over dead. So I got a manual because I like manuals, but on top of that, because I want my transmission to live.
Yeah, well, does it have like a granny gear or anything in it for when you start? I mean, that make towing stuff a lot easier on the whole drivetrain.
When I towed the car down the mile a few weeks back, I used granny gear, and it's a little bit of a pain to shift a little bit more often, but I mean, just a small tug from the granny gear, it was just fine. I mean, I still took off in second a couple times out of habit, but I was able to. It didn't really struggle, but the granny gear made it a lot better. So that was pretty nice to have.
I feel with the 2500, you buy it because you plan on or are going to tow something.
Right. Yeah.
Which I might just skip 2500 and go right to 3500.
Get yourself a dually?
Yeah, not necessarily because I need it, because the 2500 would definitely suffice any needs that I have.
Yeah.
But I feel like if I'm going to do it, I might as well just do it.
Right.
And then be able to tow whatever, whenever, however I wanted.
Tow your house?
Yeah, I mean, the payload capacity is what's more.
Yeah.
The towing capacity is the same. But then you get into, if you throw a fifth wheel or a gooseneck in there, you can haul more.
Right.
But
one thing I keep getting off track tonight, but that's okay.
Well, we're not missing anything on this list like we did last time.
Yeah. Just wanted to. I kind of got your answer earlier without asking, but do you believe in flushes? As far as vehicle maintenance,
I don't know. I probably not, unless it gets gooped up in the cooling system. Like, I have a buddy that had a radiator leak, and instead of getting a new radiator tank put on, he kept buying Bars Leak.
Yeah.
Well, he come over here one day. He's like, "Hey, I need some antifreeze," because his area of work, he's in sales too, is right around my house. Right. He's like, "Hey, I was coming and I can't make it to the next gas station. I need antifreeze. I was on vacation."
Yeah.
And I got him some, and we pulled off the cap, and I'm like, "What's all this brown shit?"
Right.
He's like, well, I don't know. I'm like, have you been putting bars leaks in here? Like, right? Well, yeah. It stopped the leak. I'm like, yeah, it stopped the leak because he probably ain't even moving any water through this,
Right. Yeah.
you
It's
know?
probably not flowing anymore.
And so in that case, yeah, a Blazer I owned needed it, but it ended up getting a garden hose
Yeah.
treatment. And I don't know that I would actually pay for that.
Kind of somewhere down the middle. I used to be a service writer and a service manager at a tire shop, and kind of down the middle. I'm not like at one of the dealerships I was at. They wanted me to start recommending stuff at 15,000 miles, and that was a little ridiculous, I thought. But we had that Avenger a few years back, and we were pretty religious about flushing the transmission like every 50,000 miles or so. And we never had any problems with it. And that was still kind of in the era of bad automatics from Chrysler.
Huh.
So I'm not so sold on like the fuel system flushes or,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I'd say I would go with transmission flush between 50 and 75,000, and a coolant flush if you're running 100,000 mile coolant, 100,000 miles. The brake fluid flush, are you kidding me?
Yeah. No, we did that on John's Audi because we didn't know what we got.
Yeah.
And it was more for peace of mind, I guess, when we went through it.
Yeah, it has its use.
Right. Did it make a difference? Probably not.
No.
Because then he turned around and put Porsche big brakes on it. Like the brakes are the size of his car now.
Yeah.
And then we ended up having to change the whole entire brake fluid, if I'm not mistaken. We might not have had to change the type because of the braking system. I'm not 100% sure. But at the very least, it got bled a lot because we were all over that braking system.
Yeah. And I don't know. Power steering, I don't know about that either. You know what I tried to do is when I would sell stuff in that industry, if somebody came in and had a bad power steering rack or a bad power steering pump, we'll say, I would try to sell the flush with that service, to say, you had this bad part, there might have been something in there or whatever.
Right.
And while we're doing this, we'll just flush it out, and that way we don't screw anything else up. And that would sell pretty well when you did it that way, but to just hit somebody over the head with, you're here for your 30,000 mile service, you need $800 in flushes. I mean,
right. My favorite is my sister called me. She had a old beater Cavalier, like fresh out of high school, during high school type deal. And Justin, I'm at the oil change place. Yeah, okay. Well, they say I need transmission flush and fill, and this is the wrong color. She's like, they put all this stuff on a card and showed it to me, and it doesn't look good. I said, here, just tell them to grease all your Zerks, change the oil, and she had a squeaky door hinge. So I was like, just tell them to grease your Zerks, change the oil, and use some white lithium grease on your door hinges.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, okay. So I think, and I've been in that position, like taking my grandma's car in for her to get an oil change, and they, here's your diff fluid, here's your transfer case fluid. This isn't, right. And I'm just like, I'm not paying Jiffy Lube to do a flush and fill. Number one, because it needs to be Jiffy. I don't want to be there forever. Right. It's not called Eternity Lube. I came here for a reason, but I typically don't buy any of that stuff. The only thing I would do, and it might just be because I'm just dumb, but if Eddie told me to flush and fill my transmission in the Charger, I would do it.
Right.
But I mean, I beat on that one like crazy over the last 4 years I've had it. And the transmission fluid is still beautiful looking.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know that I buy on any of that.
I
Any of that
always
stuff.
like my mother is kind of my person that calls and asks me that stuff. And I tell her when somebody tries to upsell her on something, thank them for pointing that out to you.
Right.
And tell them that you're either going to talk to me or you need to call me or something. And if it's not falling off the vehicle,
right.
If you can't get a hold of me, we'll go back later, kind of thing. Just because not every person's like that, but you hear so many stories of, especially women, unfortunately, getting screwed over at a auto repair place.
Yeah, it's like they see them coming.
Yeah.
And the shop is just doing. I like to think if I go to an honest shop, they're just doing what they're supposed to do. Because when I was going to go to school to be automotive tech, one of the first things every instructor said was, you go through and inspect the whole vehicle for everything and make note of it. And then you tell the customer, like, all this stuff needs to be repaired. Like, you're here for this, but all this stuff is bad.
Right.
You're kind of covering your own ass.
Right.
As a tech, because, you could do the oil change for the people and not point it out. And then they go and drive their car and something messes up in their mind. Oh,
the guy that was, tell me.
Yeah, or that guy that was doing the oil change messed this up, or
Yeah.
So it comes back to them. So I get it, but I just don't. I usually don't bite.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely like something you want to, whatever vehicle you're talking about, whether like you're saying, like you did with your sister, like just. It's not falling off the car, just let that crap go because we don't know how long it's going to last or whether, it's one of our chargers or something where we spare no expense and we throw every dime we can at them.
Yeah, that's where I catch a lot of flack from my family. And my stepdad is into cars.
Yeah.
And I'll call him and, because some stuff, he knows people, to where I might be able to catch a break because I don't have time or.
Right.
I'll call him and he's like, well, why don't you just do it? You just put a cam in your charger. Why don't you just do this?
Right.
And I'm like, because I really don't have the time.
Right.
And I think that people that are like that don't have they don't know what it's like.
Right.
Because if I fixed anything on my car, my charger, if it sits there, it sits there. Like if you do something on the instigator and it doesn't get done, you don't need the instigator.
No. At least I hope not to.
Right.
So obviously when we talk about, what parts we're going to buy for whatever, I take pretty good care of my truck, but I've had some beaters in the past, and you go to AutoZone and like, I need the cheapest whatever you can give me.
The only thing when I had my beater Blazer, the only thing I didn't go cheap on was the wheel bearings because I put 3 Duralast. I mean, that year Blazer is known for wheel bearing issues.
Yeah.
And I put 3 Duralast in that bitch, and I'm like, if I would have just bought 1 Timken,
right,
I probably wouldn't have. And if I had to, it would have been a lifetime replacement instead of 1 year replacement. And I'd be damned if the Duralast went bad after like a year and a month.
Right.
Type deal. So that's the only thing, the only parts that I would spend the extra money on. And particularly because of my drive, the way my driving that I do is all city driving too. So even like front end parts, I would probably buy Moog over Duralast because it's probably only $20 more.
Right.
And it's better stuff. And I drive in the city a lot.
Right.
And Flint roads are just shit.
Yeah, say Michigan in general even is terrible.
Yeah, so I spend extra money on that. But when it comes to brake pads, I'm like, give me the cheap organics. Well, do you want rotors? No.
Right. Pad slap the shit out of this thing.
And the pedal is pulsing like a son of a bitch because the rotors are so bad.
Oh.
But I just
be careful about that. I've seen them where they wear all the way through.
Well, I do look at them.
Yeah.
I do look at them. I mean, I'm not dumb, but like I'm not going to be on the damn cooling fins and be like, it's making a grinding noise. No. Yeah. If they're that bad, then I'll buy new ones. But
I did personally see that one time, and I couldn't believe it. Like you see this shit on the internet, but
I've seen it. I don't know how it happened, but it didn't make it to that point. It went through the metal on the back of the pad, and they were actually stopping with the piston of the caliper. And I mean, there must have been some beefy, thick ass rotors to make it that far.
Oh yeah.
But I was like, what? Like this? What the hell? Yeah. Like, well, do I need a new caliper? I'm like, I was in school, and I was like, maybe I should go ask my teacher. Because in my mind, if it was my car, I'd be like, no, put a pad on it. The boot wasn't ripped.
Yeah.
It might have used a little bit of the material up from the piston. But, and he said yes. And I'm like, well, whatever. But I'll tell you, if it was my Cavalier, I'd have just put pads on that bitch.
Because you never know sometimes. I mean, you bought brand new tires for it. And 4 months later, it took a dump.
Remember, we had that conversation of, do I pay? It was only $80. $80 on my Charger.
Yeah.
I'll throw double at it.
Right.
But $80 on that thing for an alignment, I was like, dang, I don't know if it's going to start the next morning.
Right.
It ran for a year and a half with the low oil pressure light on. I mean,
you remember that neon I had as a beater?
Yeah.
When I first met you guys? Oh my God. I was like spraying for mosquitoes driving down the road. It was burning oil so bad.
And I don't, I don't mind. For work, I have to dress, I don't know, business casual or whatever, collared shirt, slacks and everything. And then I walk out of a call and walk over to my rust bucket Cavalier, or now in this case my Impala, which doesn't look too bad, but I don't mind driving around in something like that because I know that when I come home, if I don't want to drive that, I can drive my truck or the Charger.
Right.
And then I got something super nice to drive.
Yeah.
So I'll drive shit all day if I come home.
Oh yeah.
But if it was my only car, I wouldn't drive a beater.
No. Gosh, no. I know what you mean. I mean, still to this day, I pulled in the driveway coming home from work this morning and saw a Charger sitting there. Like, man, that thing's badass.
Yeah, it does something when you come. If you're a car guy and you come home and you see that, or sometimes I catch myself, I'll leave the garage door open and not remember, and I'll go to the kitchen sink and the window will be open, and then I'll catch a glimpse of both race cars in the garage. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, this is what I'm doing this for.
This is why I deal with all this shit.
Yeah.
And I don't have cable.
Right. You gotta do what you gotta do, man.
Yeah.
Either get up at 10 minutes 4 in the morning or work all the way through the night. One of the two. It's not fun, but forces me to have this crap. So
yeah.
Just wanted to point out. I feel it's important that we point out. We're talking about doing all this stuff at home in your garage or driveway or friend's driveway or whatever. Safety should be the number one priority with this stuff. I mean, I personally won't get underneath the car without somebody else there. Jack stand or not. I always try to use jack stands.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guilty of not using it once in a while, but
I don't throw a stand under it when I'm changing tires.
No, but you're not climbing up
right.
all
I
the
don't
way
put a stand
underneath
under it unless I'm going underneath the car.
Right.
And what gets me is like I've seen this person. I don't know who it was, but I was driving by their house and they were under the car. The car was up in the air on a jack, but there was a gap between the stand and the car. So was he? And I've seen it before, and I've heard some people talk about just jack it up inside the stand under there, like the jack stand is going to catch it if the jack fails.
Yeah.
You shit pivots when it goes up and down. Yeah. If it it's not going to land on the stand square if it falls.
I've done the opposite, where it's on a stand, and I have the jack kind of underneath it.
Yeah.
But not the other way around like that dude was doing.
Yeah.
The only time I did that was when I changed the fuel pump in that pile of crap neon we were talking about.
Well, you could probably lift that off you if it fell on you.
Yeah. Use my retarded gorilla strength.
I mean, have witnessed people not taking the hoist up far enough to get to the lockout.
Yeah.
On a hoist and it falling. I mean, there's time to get out, but if you're not paying attention, you're not going to.
No.
And
danger is very real.
Yeah. And I'm guilty of being under a car with just jacks on it, though. I do it just about every time I get under there to look at my exhaust clamps. But I'm not under there long. But still, it's wrong. It is wrong.
I specifically remember a time where I was over here last fall, here in the garage, and we were checking my transmission fluid level in the Charger.
Oh, dude, that was so full.
Yeah. Yeah, that was another botched repair by somebody else. But we ended up draining it from the transmission temp gauge probe.
Yeah.
But so we kept getting underneath it and putting it back in and it was getting late. We were running out of patience, and so we were both underneath it with just the jack. But should practice what you preach, but it's definitely safer to.
I feel like that and no safety glasses are my worst safety botches. And one of them, no safety glasses, that screwed me over because I got a piece of metal in. Those of you that don't know, I was going to have LASIK done, and they want your prescription to stay the same for so many years because that means your eye isn't changing. Yeah. And mine had stayed the same for 5 years. So I'm like, sweet, get me some LASIK. Yeah. I'm out here dicking around underneath the Charger. I can't remember if it had jack stands on or not. But I was messing around underneath there and something fell in my eye. And your first reaction is you grab your eye and wipe it. Yeah. Well, I ended up scratching the piss out of my lens. And then it led to a corneal ulcer. And now that prescription went from a -4 to a -6.25 because of where the scar's at.
Oh, wow.
So now I have another 2 years of waiting to see if that gets any worse or not before I get LASIK. So that's kind of a bummer. So now I always try to have safety glasses on, and I do need to be a lot more conscious about the jacks.
Yeah.
Because what if you're underneath there and somebody walks by and hits the handle of the jack?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
a jack stand, once it's under there, is a lot safer.
The place I work for, to say they're obsessed with safety culture is an understatement. And it tends to follow you home.
Yeah.
So I feel like over the last 5 years of me working there, I've become a lot more safety conscious. So I think that's helped me out some. But, man, if you're working on your car at home, just for God's sakes, be careful. You know.
Jack stands, and if somebody isn't there with you, tell somebody that you're in the garage.
Oh, yeah.
If no one's here,
right,
and my mom calls, and I talked to her earlier in the day, I'm like, hey, when I get home from work, I got this going on. So then my mom will end up being typical mom, and
Yeah.
she'll call to make sure
Are you
that
okay?
yeah. I'm like, I'm still under here with no jack stand. I'm just kidding. Like, I gotta let you go, Mom.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's better than no one knowing and no one being there.
Yeah.
So, because I want someone with retarded gorilla strength to lift the car up if it falls on me,
Oh yeah.
or at least someone know that I'm there, so I'm not laying there dead for days.
Right. At least get you when you're still kind of fresh.
Right.
So, what do you feel like are some good do-it-yourself mods that just the typical nut and bolt guy can do to his car himself at home without specialty tools?
I feel like the typical nut and bolt guy, like my stance on it is one another person did it. You know, like you can't. If I am equipped to tackle a job, I'll tackle anything.
Right.
But I think generally speaking, I mean, it's pretty simple to do. You know, a catback exhaust or headers.
Right.
Or, you know.
If you don't have Hemi heads.
Right. Yeah, if you can get to them pricks without being on your back. And, you know, bolting on a cold air intake. You know, that kind of stuff is simple.
And your programmers and stuff like that.
Well, now, I know somebody that's terrified to throw a tune in their car because they read all the negatives about it. You know, like if your battery dies or if there's a voltage drop, it'll do this or that. So getting them to switch out a tune or put a tune in when he first got into modding the car was kind of ridiculous. I'm like, I bought mine, come out here and plugged it in, didn't even know what I was doing. Like, what's the instruction manual? That's a discussion piece for after the fact. You know,
I want to go fast.
Yeah, like, I'll refer to that after it don't work. So.
Oh, you know, I mean, for most cars, that's really no big deal. Like, especially, you know, if you don't have somebody custom tuning it or whatever. Now, my truck is a little different story. That's changing the tune on a diesel is like crazy, the difference it makes.
Yeah.
And
well, I feel like changing a tune on a factory boosted car will change a lot.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Than just changing the tune on a factory naturally aspirated car, particularly a turbo car.
Yeah.
Because they can change the boost controller and everything in that tune without you swapping any parts out.
Sure.
You know, and it's going to wake the performance up big time.
Yeah. The one I have for my truck is it's a 60 horse, 100 horsepower, or 160 horsepower tune. And I think with 160 horsepower, they say it's 260 foot-pounds of torque or something stupid.
Yeah, I doubt you'll ever get that kind of power gains from a tune on an NA car.
Right. So
on an NA gas motor, no way.
Right. It's yeah, it definitely changes a whole lot. I mean, it's would require me to do even a new clutch and all kinds of gauges and
because you got a lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah.
When you do this, you need to be able to monitor everything.
Right.
You know,
and
stuff gets hotter.
It's crazy though because you know coming from just being a guy that hadn't done the diesel thing before, I'm looking at it kind of like from the perspective of when we first got our Chargers and just did the 93 octane tune. Yeah. Like, oh, it's just a small little thing. And instead I spent $150 on a tuner off of eBay. And now it's this big thing where I would need to put a different clutch in it and all kinds of crazy stuff. Like when comparatively, when you put your supercharger on your car, you had to put a new trans in it. Yeah. You spent, a D1 supercharger kit can go upwards of like $8,000.
Yeah.
And, it's crazy. I don't know the difference between it. But,
I think all that kind of basic, easy bolt-on stuff. I feel like if you know your way around a garage, you should be able to tackle everything.
Yeah.
And cam swap, if you know your way around the garage, it should be pretty easy.
You know what? I'm not going to knock a guy for not wanting to do that. Though.
Well, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. You know, kind of like we mentioned before, like all the nut and bolt stuff and just kind of the, without going into a motor or really into a trans or anything like that, like if you can do all that, you're better than 98% of people, I'll say, just off the top of my head. And you got my respect, you know.
Yeah.
Like you're a full-blown car dude to me. So, you know.
I feel like, though, the weekend shade tree guys, we're kind of dying out.
Yeah.
Namely, because it's so cheap now to take it somewhere and have it done.
Right. Well, shit's getting a lot more complex.
Right now, I don't have anything that has this type of oil filter, but Jeanette had an Equinox, and I'm looking for the oil filter. Right? Usually, it looks like a can.
Right.
Nope. This was a filter element.
Yeah.
That went down inside an oil bath. That it pumped through.
Top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it was an Ecotech. The
yeah.
Ecotechs were like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, and like Jeanette knows that I know about cars, and she's like, well, you know, if we can buy an oil filter or whatever, you wanna do it for me? And I'm like, well, you could probably take it to El Cerro, you know, but she didn't have the time, and we had just started dating. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. And I'm like, she didn't know it until now. If she listens to this episode, I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's a filter. Oh, yeah, there it is. I know what's up. And we ended up, I never did the oil change.
Oh.
We ended up going to.
I don't know if they still do, but at one time they had to use a special socket to get those out.
Really? Yeah. See, I don't know. I know that we ended up taking it, that and my truck, to have the oil change done.
Yeah.
And the line was super long at El Cerro. And I had remembered my buddy saying, like, I go to Walmart, I pay $2 more, and it's usually not that long.
Right.
So I'm like, it's just an oil change. Not much can go wrong.
Right.
So we go to the Walmart, and they're like, it's about an hour and a half. I'm like, well, that's not bad. We're at the Walmart. We can go get some groceries real quick or whatever. So we go do what we got to do and come back. And before we had left, they pulled my truck in, and the hood was up. So we went and did our thing. I come back expecting to see my truck out and her car in. My truck is still there with the hood open. And I'm like, what's going on? So I asked the lady behind the counter back there, and she, I don't know. And I'm like, what do you mean? So the oil change tech, which is her only job, she doesn't rotate tires or anything. Well, I don't know how much oil we took out of it. I'm like, what? Does it matter how much you took out? Like, I guarantee you can go to that computer and you type in 2011 5.7 Dodge Ram.
Right.
And it's going to tell you 7 quarts.
Right.
Or I think it's 7.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm pretty
even
sure
remember.
it's 7.
So, why is it... Well, I don't know if he put any in. I don't know how much is in there, even. I'm like, can I come out there? Because at this point, I'm ready to, they still have her car to go.
Right.
I'm ready to go. And because I'm so frustrated, I don't get it. And she's like, well, no. And I'm like, all right, so go out there and stick the dipstick back in, pull it out, and if it still has to add some, I don't care if you add it half quart by half quart until it's to the fill line. Well, then how do we know how much oil to charge you for, sir? I said, are you kidding me? It says right here.
Right.
It'll say on your computer how much it takes. And if the dipstick says full and it says it takes X amount, then X amount is what I get charged for.
Right.
The store director ended up walking by, and I voiced my opinion to him, and I ended up getting it free, which is not what I was going for.
Right. At this point, you just wanted your oil up to the correct level.
Yeah, it's not that. So I won't go back to the Walmart again, ever. I don't care how cheap it is.
I don't blame you. Man. Yeah, I've been employed at shops with several different roles, and even going back to college, I was a service porter at a Dodge dealer, and this one technician was changing the oil for one of the car wash guys, and he ended up not putting any oil in this guy's car, and he drove, I'll say 10 or 15 miles home with no oil in it.
Oh.
It was still running, but oh man.
Wow.
Yeah, it was not good.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a bad day.
How did that end, if you don't mind me asking?
Guy kept his job.
Wow. So
I know we didn't replace the motor.
Did you tell the owner?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was one of the car wash guys, and he got done with his shift on a Saturday of washing customer cars.
Okay.
And went home, and it was like, I don't have any oil. Like, oh, that's not good.
I'm surprised it didn't start knocking being empty by the time.
I don't know if it was or not. I'll tell you, the trick I used that I was taught by the service manager there at the time, because I did a lot of oil changes too, was I'll take the oil fill cap and put it by the hood latch, so the hood won't latch until I put the cap back on, and hopefully I'll be smart enough to put oil back in it before I put the cap back on.
That is a good trick.
It is.
I'm a dipstick checker like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
But people get distracted. Right. Shit happens, So that extra layer of protection, just by putting the oil fill cap right there, I'm perfectly fine with doing it every time.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So that's a little tip for you guys there if you haven't done that before. I just wanted to touch on real quick. We're talking about DIY stuff. I was talking to Rowdie before. He hasn't watched it, but there's a show on YouTube. It's called Mighty Car Mods. They're two guys from Australia, and they started out just doing stuff in the one guy's mother's driveway. And the titles of their videos starting out and even still are like how to like one of their earliest ones was like how to pimp your car for $500. And I think they ended up like putting a stereo in it and going to an exhaust shop and having an exhaust put on this, I think it was like a VW or something.
Okay.
But it's a really cool show, and they show you how to do lots of things. And, if you don't quite know what you're doing yet, you can learn a lot from them. And, yeah, I
want to pimp my car out for $500.
Yeah. But they've had a lot of cool stuff. I mean, now it's getting to the point, I think they've been on for 7 or 8 years now.
Oh,
and
they probably got some in-depth stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and they've got big money sponsors now. Like, there's a car insurance company over in Australia that sponsors them, and they do all kinds of stuff. But they mostly stick to budget stuff, but sometimes it gets pretty out of control. But, yeah.
I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah, you're going to have to get in on that one. And get you more into roadkill, too.
Yeah, I need to do that. I was laying in bed the other night, couldn't sleep, and I'm like, yeah, I could do. No, there's Birdman. Let's go watch Birdman. There's Birdman races. Chuck, there's Birdman races. But Pro Mods, so I ended up getting stuck on that.
Such a fanboy.
Dude. Birdman he's so mellow. He's so cool, calm, and calm. When I say he, it's Birdman Racing. There's the original Birdman, which is half the car owner, and then there's James Feeney, which is the driver. So, but both of them are pretty mellow and laid back.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you right there. This would be like a top 10 question for you.
Okay.
Your favorite Hollywood actress, whoever that may be, I don't know who it is.
Okay.
is in one corner of the room, and the Birdman Racing guys are in the other corner of the room.
Oh man.
Who do you talk to first?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of a big dork, so I wouldn't be able to talk to the Hollywood actress. So I would probably talk to Birdman Racing.
Okay.
And hope that the Hollywood actress thought it was cool enough
to come over and see what's going on.
Oh man, he loves cars, and then she came over and introduced herself, and then it was but probably not.
No, she wouldn't be talking about Prius, so she probably wouldn't be into it.
Yeah, you know what? I couldn't even pick just one.
Yeah,
Hollywood actress. I don't really.
I'll do the same thing for me if it was whoever and Jeremy Clarkson in the other corner. I'd right over there with Jezza.
Yeah,
chatting his ass up.
I feel like the Hollywood actress wouldn't. What the hell am I going to talk about with them?
I don't know. I'm already married, so.
Dude, I don't like even if I wasn't engaged. What am I going to like?
Right.
Now,
yeah.
Wait. Now, if I was single and it was the same circumstances and I had a chance with said Hollywood actress, I might think differently. But just two people like Birdman Racing and then them in the room, I probably would go talk to Birdman.
Yeah.
So.
That's funny. Yeah. So I don't know how many people are keen to the no prep scene, but Birdman's obviously a big name in that scene, and he's finally going to race Shadow this weekend.
Right. Now he's been tearing up that scene. He lost at Outlaw Armageddon to Daddy Dave, but he hasn't lost many.
Right.
And the Birdman Shadow rivalry goes back to like Birdman's old car. I think it was a third gen.
Third gen, yeah. Sounds right.
And they've been supposed to be racing, and somebody's car would break, and they'd have to pay the punk out fee.
Yeah.
And I guess it's finally set to go.
Oh man.
There's no way for me to watch it until after it happens.
Right.
So, because it's not going to be televised or on a live feed for that matter. So, that happens Sunday.
Wonder how much money in side bets going to happen at that track.
I have no idea what total pot would be, but I think the two teams themselves, I read somewhere, was 10,000. So.
That's enough.
But I mean, Birdman just has to go win a race one weekend,
right?
And Steve Jackson, Stevie Fast, the guy that drives Shadow, he gets paid to drive cars. That's all he does. Like he drives a lot of different cars. He drives the Shadow. He drives a nitrous car. He drives a lot. It's what he gets paid to do. So it's not much for them.
Right.
To lose on Phil Schuler, the guy that owns the car, the Shadow, is a Top Fuel tuner.
Oh wow!
And he does this on his on the side. He works for Don Schumacher Racing, if I'm not mistaken, and he's a tuner.
Yeah.
And he does this on the side, which actually he doesn't even hardly tune the car.
Right.
Stevie Jackson tunes the car, but Steve Jackson's cool though too. I don't want to say he's an ass. He's cocky and arrogant, but he can be because he can back it up. And what he does for the sport is awesome. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever seen this guy's videos with Keith Haney when he's making fun of Keith Haney or anything like that. It's cool. It goes back old school, to where the drivers would
talk
obviously it wouldn't be on YouTube,
right?
But they'd talk trash back and forth, and it'd get pretty intense. So this one is, I hope it's a barn burner. I hope no one breaks. I hope no one goes up in smoke. I hope it's a big deal, and whoever wins, hopefully they just win by like a finger. All right, so that's enough about that race. We'll probably cover it more on the next podcast once we can see some YouTube videos.
Yeah.
But
So-
I'm pulling for Birdman on that. I don't have money to bet, so do not post on there telling me to bet. It's not that I'm not confident. It's I'm broke.
So we've got a few things coming up. Tomorrow starts the Frankenmuth Car Show.
Yep.
And for those of you who aren't familiar with the area, it's a little tourist town here in Michigan. And on the Friday night, they shut the main street down, the main strip through town, and both sides of the street
And the middle.
and the middle are lined with mostly classic cars.
Right. In fact, the show itself that happens on the weekend is age restricted as far as age of cars go.
Friday night's not, but
Friday night is not.
But you see all sorts of cool stuff. I mean, all the muscle cars and hot rods, and you see rat rods, and you see everything.
That was the first time I ever seen Shaboom, and Shaboom Gone Wild, or Shaboom Gone Crazy, one of the two.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with those cars?
Yeah, Shaboom came by the Pontiac lot at Dream Cruise and did his fire spit and exhaust thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, there's also Shaboom Gone Wild, which is the same car.
Yeah.
With a Pro Mod motor in it.
Oh.
And it's still slammed and let it in and everything like regular Shaboom. So I'm walking down the street in Frankenmuth. We're going to Zender's there to eat. And I'm like, something sounds like it is going to eat me. And it's cam and super loud, and it's got blower surge and everything. I turn around. It was the coolest thing I ever seen.
Right.
I think something happened with the owner or a charity because that car got parted out, and you could buy parts of it at an Autorama that I went to.
Really?
And proceeds went toward, I believe it was a cancer charity.
Okay.
So I don't exactly know why or what happened, but man, that thing was cool. And the very first time I seen that was the very first time I went to Frankenmuth for the car show.
Okay.
Before I knew what happened Friday night, I was there on Saturday.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, that's a good time. I have to work this weekend, but I'm off tomorrow night, so we're gonna go to that. So I'm always super excited to go to that. It's one of the big highlights of the year for me. So
if any of our listeners are from Michigan and not close to Frankenmuth, it's going to be nice Friday. Saturday's going to be rain. Sunday's going to be nice. The show still goes on Sunday.
Yeah. That's where they hand out all their awards.
Right. If you'd never been to Frankenmuth in general and you're a car enthusiast, this would be a good weekend for you to go. Either Friday night or Sunday, because it's like you're going to a whole nother state. It's so nice there. Everybody's nice. Everything is clean.
Yeah.
And well kept.
Last year, we went on Friday night, and then we had to watch some of my wife's friends' kids on Saturday. Otherwise, we would have went Saturday. But we went on Sunday, and we just sat on one of the benches, and it was like kind of a miniature Woodward.
Yeah.
I mean, cars were cruising up and down the main street. So, I mean, it was cool just to sit and watch them. So,
I think that
even if you don't make it tomorrow, you can do Saturday or Sunday and kind of catch that vibe.
Yeah, that's actually what I went and walked the show one year, and probably won't go walk the show again because you can go up there in the evening when it's not as hot and sit on the bench or stand on the curb there, and you see just about every. Yeah, it's the last big car show of the year. I feel like.
Yeah.
And there's always cool stuff there. And you can go down to the brewery down there and get yourself some Frankenmuth beer.
Yeah. There's lots of good restaurants and
it's
shops
fun.
To keep your wife interested or whatever.
Yep.
I grew up in the town next to Frankenmuth, Bridgeport, so we were there every year for that. And it was cool on the Friday and Saturday night. Like, guys were cruising, and you could kind of follow in the cruise, whether you had a cool car or not. Every once in a while, you catch them doing a quick burnout at the stop sign or whatever. So, when you're 16, 17, 18, that's pretty awesome. So,
there's some Bridgeport and Midland guys that there's some buzz on the Facebook about some guys going up there tomorrow.
Okay.
My acquaintances, your friends, or
Yeah.
your acquaintances that are better acquaintances than mine.
Yeah.
But it kind of, I don't know, man. Most of these people, I feel like I've seen them before,
Yeah.
but I don't really notice them. It'll be interesting because I'll have the bully out.
Yeah.
Granted, it is Frankenmuth and it's a cruise, so probably not much action will happen, but there's probably going to be shenanigans after the fact.
Plenty of back roads.
So, we'll. I'm not promising or predicting anything, but that could be kind of cool to talk to some of those guys.
Yep, my mom's gonna watch Dominic tomorrow for us, and we're gonna go.
Cool.
Yeah. So we got that coming up, and then I work this weekend, but next weekend we're still figuring out whether we're gonna go to that No ET down at Milan.
Well, I mean, I will be there. It'll be, like I said, it'll probably be a little bit later.
Yeah.
The bully being there is the question.
Yeah.
Because of some other things that came up, and then time. And last time I ran in a September No ET, I paid my money and I was there all night and I made 2 passes.
Yeah.
I didn't have like any set grudge races, but I feel like the lanes were so packed, it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah. I'm gonna skip taking the car this time. Sunday next weekend, we bought my wife a helmet.
Oh, so is this the driver mod?
This is the driver mod. Wife's gonna take the car down the strip at Lapeer, I think, on next Sunday.
See, now that is a definite maybe for me as far as loading the bully up and making it to that. Because I haven't ran race gas to the car yet this year. I've been to the track once.
Yeah. Me too.
I need to do something like that, especially with what's happening with the car next season. I need to get used to being there at a track more. So I think I might do that. That actually sounds a little bit more appealing to me, to go spectate the No ET and then run my car at Lapeer for half the price.
Right. We can kind of make passes at our leisure there.
Right. If the car's doing good, I might even throw it in the money bracket.
Sure, why not?
I mean, it's
quick included enough. With your.
Well, trophy bracket's included.
Okay.
Money bracket's a little bit extra, but I feel like my car is consistent. We know that.
Yeah.
And I might be a little bit better at the standard tree.
Yeah.
So, and I already got a trophy from Lapeer. Another one would be cool, but I'll tell you, some cash would be way better.
Yeah.
So,
it'll be interesting to have my wife drive the car.
Yeah.
Because she's just one of those people that has an addictive personality. So she has to, like, literally watch what she gets into.
Yeah.
You know, and
good thing she didn't get into booger sculpture.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm thinking once she gets the adrenaline rush of when she gets over her initial fear, and feels the adrenaline rush, I think we're gonna have like the next drag racing addict on our hands. And I feel like it could be a positive and a negative for me. It could be a positive because she's always been a pretty good sport about going to car events, letting me spend money on the car, all that kind of stuff that a lot of guys deal with the opposite from their wives. She's always been a really good sport about it. But I think if I get her making passes in the car, she's just going to like dive right in and it'll be like even more a part of her lifestyle. The negative would be I'd probably never get to race the car again.
Maybe we can use that as a springboard into the nitrous. Hey. I'm not giving up on that yet.
Apparently not.
But yeah, I haven't seen my car go down the track.
Yeah. Except on video, obviously.
Right. I mean, I've taken your car down the track.
Yeah.
So you've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's real funny. I remember looking at you and I said, "You realize this is like one step for me letting you screw my wife, right?"
Yeah, that's a pretty major deal. I don't care who takes my car down the track, really. I mean, unless they can't drive and they wad it up.
Yeah.
But no one can drive my car harder than I drive it.
No, nobody knows it like you do.
Disappointing if someone drove it better.
Yeah.
But
I was thankful you did the same ET that I did.
Yeah, I did cut a badass light though.
Yes, you did.
0.001.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm not exactly perfect. I'm probably that close to being perfect. Mm-hmm. So for that kind of light, I was, and now
that was a red light in the bully.
Maybe, but now I can hold Saab to that after her first couple passes.
Yeah.
Because every time I go up there and I cut a bad light, she's like, 0.267. The hell, slacker.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
Like if
she gets on her high horse.
Usually when I come back, I'm like anticipating an excitement congratulations because I ran the time that I'm wanting, and Saab is like, your light was horrible. And I'm like, that's pretty good for me, you know? And
she wants us to do well.
Right. So, well, I'll give it a couple passes before I say something about that.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I think she's going to do well. I think
so too. I mean,
I don't know that her first pass is going to be much different than her last pass. I think she'll be more into it come her last pass.
Yeah.
And she'll probably be concentrating more on what will make it good.
Right.
You know, but girls and guys kind of freak out when they get up there because people are going to be watching you, is what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And when I'm at the track, if it's not my buddy up there, I'm not paying any attention.
Right.
You know, or if it's not a car that I want to see.
Yeah.
So really, I don't think many people will be watching her.
Right.
You know, they'll notice the race, I guess is the way to word it. But Are they going to, her burnout wasn't long enough, or, she didn't do a big enough burnout, or, you know, wow, she did a really long burnout.
Yeah.
No one's going to be, I'm not even going to be doing that.
Yeah.
You know, when I watch her, I don't think you'll even be doing that.
No.
But
I told her.
People, that gets to them.
Yeah.
You know?
I told her my goal for the day was that I don't care what time she runs. I don't care what her reaction time is. Any of that stuff. I want her to go up there, do a burnout, stage the car, and make a full throttle pass through the beams. What all that results into for numbers don't mean squat to me. You know what I'm saying? Just
right.
For the first day,
she does it all like that, we know what the number will be.
Right.
You know, it's not within reason. We know.
Sure. Yeah. But just that notwithstanding, just kind of that's all I give a crap about is she can go home at the end of the day and say she made a drag racing pass at the track. Didn't crash the car, and from there on out, the next time we go to the track or whatever, we can improve from there.
Well, just because I feel like the type of person Saab is first one will be, she'll be nervous.
Yeah.
And then after that, I feel like it's going to be balls to the wall.
I think so too, honestly. I honestly do too.
Like her burnout might be too big and she might turn the tires greasy because she's, because she gets on us for our burnout sucking.
Right.
Well, my burnouts might not always make for picturesque burnouts.
Right.
But it gets the job done. So,
yeah.
Is she going to use the line lock when she does the burnout?
Yes, I've ran through the step by step for her to use the line lock.
Has she done a burnout before you had the line lock? Just brake torquing
she has done a power brake and burnout.
That was weird for me when I first went from a power brake burnout to the line lock because I lost feel of the car, kind of.
Yeah. So,
hopefully that works for her. She's going to listen to this, and I don't want any of it to make her nervous. But that's what I did. Excuse me, my big ass Smoky burnout.
Right.
And greased the tires right up, and then that pass sucked. And Jeanette was going through putting all my time slips in a database, and that's kind of like what she does. So she's got it all, and then she can sort it all and everything. And she's putting in one. She's like, "What'd you do?
What in the hell happened here?"
Like, what do you mean? Well, at Mid-Michigan, your first run was horrible. It's your slowest run ever. It was slower than it was stock, and it's because I spun the tires off.
Yeah.
And I explained it to her, and then she got it. She's like, "Well, I'm not recording this one." I'm like, I mean, I don't remember every pass, but if it's something like that, I remember it. So,
so I think we actually covered all the subjects from the introduction this time.
Sweet.
So we can pat ourselves on the back there. So what we got coming up from now on the show is we came up with the idea of having people that listen get on our Facebook page or YouTube or Podbean or SoundCloud and give us some subjects you want to hear us talk about, and we're going to do an episode, every whatever number of episodes,
5 or 6,
we'll say, and we'll just pick a topic out of the hat, and that's what we'll talk about until we kind of run out of steam. We'll pull another one out, and do an episode like that, and anything we have left over we'll save for the next time.
Right. I feel like we need to make a promise that no matter what's in there, we will talk about. We won't just be like, "Oh,
we'd prefer
we're not going to talk related. About this." Right. But I mean, it can be. I'm really putting us at risk here, but I don't care what it is. It's kind of like going to be like a comic. It could be like a comic relief deal.
Yeah.
I feel like to keep us honest, we should look for doing a live feed on the Facebook when we when we
do the draw. Yeah, we'll do that live on Facebook.
I mean, it can be anything, and we'll just draw it right out of the hat. I'm super excited for that. I was going to just drop that bomb on you while we were live recording.
Yeah. No, I like that. I even thought of, and maybe we'll do it, maybe we won't, but just doing an off-topic episode.
Yeah.
Where it'll probably come back to cars at some point or another because that's who we are. But the whole premise of the episode won't be cars. It'll be what we do outside of cars.
Right.
So, that'd be a good one for middle of winter.
Yeah.
When nothing's really going on.
Yep.
But we'll do stuff like that too. We just want to get more connected with our audience, grow our audience. Hopefully, if you guys haven't liked the Facebook page, you will. It's Facebook Big D and J Rowdie Show.
Like Big D and J Rowdie Show. We got the Misconduct Racing page.
Yeah.
The Bully. Go like all that stuff, and it's a good way to keep up with us.
Yep.
I've been pretty bad about updating the Bullies page, but man, I just haven't done much with that thing this year.
Yeah. We've both been pretty busy with family stuff and stuff outside it.
We were actually sitting back, just to touch on this, we were sitting back thinking about our summer, and aside from our vacation, our road trip through Michigan vacation when we got engaged, we haven't really done, but aside from that, like 2 or 3 things all summer that I don't want to say that we wanted to do, because all the stuff that we did want to do.
Right.
But I want to say maybe not for ourselves.
Right.
And
where it was your idea to do.
Our idea to go do something.
Right.
It was, and it really kind of sucked.
Yeah.
I have a lot of summer hobbies: the boat, the car.
Yeah.
That's not a lot, but that's time consuming.
Right. We both were in Zach's wedding.
Yeah.
I've gone to 2 other weddings this summer. I've had my son's birthday, a couple other little kid birthdays, family stuff.
Yeah.
Just, it gets out of hand.
I feel like we've been very selfless.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, it's almost over.
Right. I know.
My car will be put up probably after Halloween, because those of you that don't know, I go all out for Halloween, and I just won't have the time between putting my costume together and then getting this ready out here. I mean, we're going to lose the studio.
Right.
Because I got to fit 3 cars in here.
Yeah, we'll have to figure something else out.
So mine will be put up early November, but yeah, it's like it's over. And I went to the track once, and I'm going to go Sunday, and then I'll go to the Opie event 3 times.
Right.
Like, that's...
Yeah. Well, that's how it goes sometimes, I guess.
Right.
Let's wait till you have a kid. It's going to get even worse.
Yeah. Well, I'll figure that out. But, so go to the Facebook pages, Big D and J Rowdy Show.
Yep.
The Bully.
YouTube channel, Big D and J Rowdy Show.
Misconduct Racing.
Give us a like. Give us comments, suggestions, hate mail.
We only had one mean comment.
Yeah.
Gene gets diarrhea from listening to our show.
Yeah.
I
told him we were a cure for constipation.
You know, I hope he listens past that.
Yeah.
I hope he gets his constipation figured out, and he starts listening on a regular basis.
Yep. So we have, say, the Facebook, the YouTube, Podbean, SoundCloud, and you can email us, BigDandJRowdyShow@gmail.com. Suggestions, what you like, what you don't like. Tell us where you're from, whatever.
Listener number. Tell us what listener number. I'm curious.
There you go.
Because we go through and add up. Like, I go through and look because it tells you how many listeners you have.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many times. I don't know if SoundCloud counts how many times one person clicks play.
Right.
Or if it's, this person listened to. Yeah, I don't. But so far, I'm actually pretty impressed.
Yeah.
I really like it. If it peters out and we stop getting listens, I don't know that we're going to keep pushing through,
Yeah. Eventually we'll have to move on to something else.
Right. If we're not getting any attention on it, But so far, you guys are doing good.
Yeah.
So if you listen to it, you like it, tell your friend.
Yep.
And maybe they'll tell more people.
Jesse, tell some people.
We almost made it the whole episode.
Yeah, there you go.
We're going to edit that out.
How hardcore are you if you made it this far? Yeah, so give us a like, give us a share. Thank you for listening. And we'll talk to you guys soon.